Alrighty, let's kick this thing off. Good morning from Paradise Surfers. My name is Crypto Amaru, joined as always by Nick the Crypto Hitman, and it is Tuesday, March 10th. Beautiful day to be alive. The sun is shining where I'm at. It's about 70 degrees. Spring is in the air. The market's looking good. Seems like the Iran war may be behind us sooner rather than later. Fingers crossed. And in the meanwhile, Michael Saylor has been buying an insane amount of Bitcoin every single day. Supply shock incoming. We shall discuss. Brian Armstrong, founder and CEO of Coinbase, as well as CZ, mind you, are suggesting that AI agents may one day overtake the number of actual real human users interacting with the crypto ecosystem. Could this technological revolution be the spark, the tech-based spark this bull run needs? We shall discuss. Wall Street continues to buy, by the way, too. Looks like Goldman Sachs loaded up 300 million of strategy shares. Things are looking good. The sun is shining. I'm feeling very bullish. How about you there, Nick?
Yeah, doing good. Weather's good here as well. I saw we were over 70,000 this morning on Bitcoin. Obviously, it's dropped off just a little bit as the stock market has opened. The stocks are a slightly red. NASDAQ down a whopping 0.08%. There was a lot of fear in the stock market, and now the NASDAQ has just recaptured the 300 moving average. That's the red line that we've been showing for a long time. I'll pull that up here for you. As NASDAQ continues to battle, it wants to remain bullish. It wants to have a high-level consolidation to the breakout that we've had marked here for a long time, which would happen when? At the end of March, which could correspond with when? Well, that could be when the Clarity Act is passed into action. That could be when tax refunds come, and that could be on the cusp of the tariff rebates. That's why I drew it there. Battling here, slightly red. Bitcoin going red a little bit as well, but fighting for that 70K mark once again. Sitting back in between the two moving averages. You would like for it to consolidate and coil as these moving averages pinch around the price, and then you're going to see a violent reaction either up or down as this coils. I am rooting for up because I think we have been washed out on Bitcoin. What do you think? Do you think we break up or down for Bitcoin if it does in fact coil around a narrowing 200 and 300 moving average?
I think something remarkable has happened with Bitcoin over the past 2 weeks, really since the Iran war started. It is decoupled from the NASDAQ to at least some degree. NASDAQ's been underperforming Bitcoin, and their correlation was very tight for a long time now. And it sort of makes you question, is Bitcoin now being viewed more as the safe haven, the digital gold that we all want it to be? Is this the start of kind of a new narrative or a narrative shift? Or is it something as simple as, hey, Bitcoin was oversold, there aren't a lot of sellers left to sell, and 60K was the bottom. So very interesting to see that correlation breaking. My guess is we break to the upside sooner rather than later. We've been consolidating here in the 60 to 70K range for, I don't know, what's it been? A couple months now, a month now or so?
February 5th, a little over a month.
Yeah, a little over a month. We've been consolidating. I know the bears want you to believe it's going to break lower. I think we go higher. We just need this Iran war to resolve itself, and I think all the markets start pumping again.
Well, I guess I saw that oil fell off a cliff and Bitcoin surged with the simple truth social post from Trump kind of hinting at that the war is going to be over soon and or that we're going to kind of create a power capsule over in the Strait of Hormuz and kind of dictate what happens there. Do you think that's kind of what it was, the timing of Trump posting again? It's crazy how not even a Twitter post, not a CNN video, not a Fox interview, but a truth social post can dictate the outlook on the war itself and really affect many of the financial markets, including oil. I don't know what it's doing today, but I know yesterday it went from like $114 while it's closed over the weekend, down all the way back into 80s and even as low as 79 on a wick, just simply off that post.
Oil's highly volatile. That's the futures market. You can't read too much in this stuff during times of war. I mean, the fair value of oil is around $80 a barrel, probably even less. We'll see when the war ends where it ends up at. But, yeah, I was joking around in one of the groups, or maybe it was on X. It's Trump's world. We're just living in it, guys. With a single tweet, he can move markets. With a single tweet, he can, create fear and panic in citizens. in foreign leaders in the markets. I mean, this guy is literally, I mean, it's on top of his game, and you love it or hate it. We are living in Trump's world. You just have to accept that. So, look, all jokes aside, I think this war does resolve itself relatively soon. I don't think this persists for weeks on end. I think maybe we have another week in us, and then Trump's going to declare victory. And sadly, probably the regime remains in place, and we move on to the next thing, having degraded most of their military capabilities. I don't think regime changes in the cards, sadly enough. I don't know if we're going to get to their nukes. That is a little scary. They're enriched uranium. We should probably try to figure out a way to get that out, but I don't know if we can without boots on the ground. So anyway, we'll see. But my optimist take here is this basically war gets resolved in about 1 week, and Strait of Hormuz basically opens back up and things continue as normal.
Yeah, the market seems to agree with that sentiment as now oil prices back into the 80s. I know we had the scare there in the 90s, and while the market was closed, the futures had it at over $100 a barrel. Now, obviously, that's on low liquidity weekends, futures only, and not actual spot prices when the markets are open for the general public. So how much do you really look into that? I don't know. Somebody bought up there at 114 a barrel and woke up this morning as market opens and is at 87. So congratulations, you just lost a shit ton of money. Let's see what Ethereum is doing here. Still battling for this white line here that I have around $2,100. We're sitting at $2,015. Still holding above 2,000 bucks and back into these moving averages. The same thing you want to see on Bitcoin is what you want to see here. You want to see the yellow 200 moving average start to round out. You want to see the 300 moving average obviously is going to continue to click down as price is down. See a consolidation and a break to the upside, and watch the yellow line cross through the red from below. That would be a bullish moving average cross, and with the consolidation breakout of price, which would lead you to believe that a major short-term low was put in place on Ethereum at $1,800. Obviously, you only have a plus or minus $200 here to play with, so critical levels for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so many other crypto assets as we kind of wait and see who is going to be the buyers of these assets, what's going to be the closeout of the Iranian war, and will there be another black swan that slows down the growth of the cryptocurrency and blockchain technology.
I think just going by probabilities, what's more likely to happen? Another black swan, or I guess an acceleration of the war somehow, the elongation of the war, or Trump saying, war's won. He basically went out yesterday and said that. He said, we already won. We already destroyed all their capabilities. Now, do we achieve all the objectives? Regime change, that was probably unrealistic. I don't think that's happening. But we, for all intents and purposes, from a military standpoint, have neutralized that threat, at least in the near term. Now, you could envision some worst case scenarios where they just resume, enriching the uranium and just go full steam ahead towards a bomb, which is obviously everybody's fear. My hope is that doesn't happen. But again, I think, look, Trump could end this thing tomorrow. Yeah, it's just a tweet. Just end it with the tweet. War's won. And markets are going to skyrocket. So to me, that's more likely than a doomsday. This just continues on and on and on, and boots on the ground, and battalions going in there. I just don't see that happening. So yeah, I'm optimistically cautious here, cautiously optimistic that more likely we get a resolution, and the markets are going to start pumping again.
Yep, and look at the chat here. Hit that smash the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And then Louis Lullaball, Miko Chapo, good morning, guys. Good morning to you as well. Let's get into some news pieces here. And why is Bitcoin rallying? We talked about the Iranian war, but there's other things going on exchange and with Michael Saylor. First of all here, we got Bitcoin on exchanges just hit an all-time low. Less Bitcoin available for spot buyers, I should say. If demand spikes, supplies can't keep up. Remember, there's only like 1 million more Bitcoin to be mined ever in the history of Bitcoin to get to that 21 million mark. Historically, low supply plus rising demand equals parabolic moves higher. Next stop, 85,000 question mark. Remember, I really want us to get to the $84,000 mark to feel like we are out of the bearish sentiment. Cross above all of those resistances and get that FOMO bug back above 100,000 towards all-time highs. What do you think of this? Obviously, the derivative markets, the futures markets, all these things that are not spot Bitcoin don't help the cause for supply shock. But there is more and more spot Bitcoin demand from retail, from Michael Saylor, from strategy, from all of the spot ETFs, they hold spot Bitcoin. That's what causes supply shock, and that's why we like finite supply assets like Bitcoin.
I think if you look at the exchange reserves and you combine that with the fact you mentioned that there's only 1 million more Bitcoin to be mined in the next 125 something years, right? Really an astonishing thing to think about if you wrap your head around it. And then you add the fact that Michael Saylor strategy through their kind of their new instrument Stretch has been accumulating an insane amount of Bitcoin every single day now for the past week or so. Activity higher on Coinbase. I look at this and I think, again, what's more likely? What's more likely here at this point in time, after having crashed to 60,000, after the Iran war, after all the FUD, after 1010, after everyone got liquidated and wrecked? What's more likely? We go lower, or we break higher? My bet is higher.
Well, Michael Saylor is doing everything he can to incorporate Bitcoin into not only strategy, not only his personal portfolio, but everything else. STRC posted a monster Monday, 2.4 million shares all above threshold, 1,360 Bitcoin estimated, biggest single day of March surge. That's now 5,600 plus Bitcoin across 6 straight sessions of ATM activity. Yield is at 11.49%. Do you want to explain a little bit about what STRC is and how it relates to strategy and Michael Saylor?
Yeah, Stretch is a new financial instrument, a new offering from the strategy sort of ecosystem. How it works is its shares are designed to always be at 100. If you have a lot of buyers come in, they'll sell more shares to even it out and get it back to 100. Sellers coming in, they're buying to get back to 100. So they always want to stay at 100. It's almost like a debt-based instrument in that sense, where say you invest 50,000, you're in all likelihood going to be able to withdraw your 50,000, but in that when you want to go sell, price is not going to go up or down on the instrument, right? Because that's how it's designed to kind of stay even at 100. And in doing that, in the buying and the selling, they're taking that and they're using it to buy Bitcoin. So this thing has been accumulating an insane amount of Bitcoin over the past week. This thing is only like 6 months old, this Stretch, right? 6 or 8 months old. And a lot of that time was in kind of a nasty bear market, right? So finally things are looking a little bit better. Bitcoin's a bit green. And people are really interested in this yield, 11.5% yield. I mean, basically, you can't beat that. You look across, there's other similar instruments. I think JP Morgan offers something similar. And like half the yield. It's not a Bitcoin-based thing, but it's like a thing that's designed to stay at par, and then it issues you dividends, essentially. This is a remarkable instrument. It's accumulating an insane amount of Bitcoin. I don't know when this thing slows down. It's still relatively new. If we see it stay the course or accelerate, there just isn't enough Bitcoin right now. I mean, the miners, I think, are mining a couple 100, 300 a day Bitcoins. How many Bitcoins get maybe 450 a day mined? I don't know the exact number. We can look it up in a sec. But there just isn't enough Bitcoin to go around if Stretch keeps going and we have some buyers come in from retail and other institutions. I think we're going higher.
Well, I know that the Clarity Act is a big thing for that as well, but we want to talk about this because we talked about this in the past. What is going to be a sector that remains hot if and when Bitcoin and crypto and Ethereum have another altcoin season? We've talked about some AI projects and how CZ thinks that that's going to be a big winner. And now Brian Armstrong, the CEO founder of Coinbase, is saying something similar. Very soon there are going to be more AI agents than humans making transactions. They can't open a bank account, but they can own a crypto wallet. Think about it. And then Coinbase says thinking about on-chain, kind of promoting their base chain, their layer 2 scaling solution to Ethereum. What do you think is going on with AI agents, AI crypto sectors, and, are all AI agents going to be crypto related, or are there some AI agents that are just traditional on-ramp native, but is that even possible with the modern banking system? Brian Armstrong seems to think that it isn't possible and crypto will be needed.
I think this is a fascinating topic, but let's zoom out. We've talked a lot about innovation in the crypto space, or perhaps lack thereof, has sort of contributed to the absence of an alt season. Usually, alt seasons are spurred on, at least to some degree, by some major new innovation. Going back to, hell, even going back to ICO days, that concept of even, raising money on chain, that in itself was an innovation. Okay, so you had ICO season like 2017, then you fast forward 2021, you have DeFi summer when like Uniswap makes its big splash. DeFi really is that major, huge innovation that drives a lot of on-chain activity, retail excitement, etc. Then you had NFTs. Okay, you can feel one way or another about it, but that also got people very excited about crypto and blockchain. Sadly, for the past 2 to 3 years, the only innovations, as far as I've seen, meaningful innovations, have been pump fund, not great, and then hyperliquid, on-chain perpetuals, which is cool and probably good, better than people going on Binance to trade perpetuals, but still just like rampant gambling, essentially, right? Just facilitating the idea that crypto is nothing but, casino. I think there's a chance that these on-chain AI agents is that next major wave of innovation that not only drives excitement from retail, on-chain usage, all those wonderful things, but kind of reorients the story that crypto isn't just one big goddamn casino where the degens, scam each other. So I'm very bullish about this. What it ultimately looks like, how this evolves, what it becomes, are we going to live in a world where, I don't know, instead of trading the traditional way manually, you just spin up your own agent through some D app, send it 500 or 5,000 bucks, and it just goes on various, dexes, or it goes on Hyperliquid, or it goes on Polymarket, and just does trading for you, and the humans basically are removed from it. Maybe that'd be pretty cool. So I don't know where this evolves or where it goes, but I'm very hopeful that on-chain AI agents are that next major wave of innovation that we need for alt season.
Well, and I know one AI project that we've been talking about here is, I pulled it up, the SSTL token with smart sentinels coming through pools. And when we talked about this, we kind of liked it because it was on BNB chain, and we know that CZ has hinted at wanting good AI agent projects and good AI projects coming for this next cycle. And maybe the Smart Sentinels is kind of that play. And now you have Brian Armstrong talking about AI agents and Coinbase talking about AI agents. And I just think if you're not looking at AI as a sector in crypto for when alt season comes back, you're going to miss out on a lot of good opportunities. Will all of them play out? Will all of them be revolutionary? Will all of them survive cycle after cycle? No, but I think that narrative is going to be one to focus on, and there will be winners that survive after the next bear market comes.
Oh, absolutely. I think Smart Sentinels is perfectly positioned for this kind of AI agent hype wave, which I think is coming or already happening, frankly. There's a handful of other projects that we're working with over at Pools and Crypto Paradise. One that just got announced is called Noya Network. I won't get too much into the weeds on that one right now, but that one's coming on Pools as well. We'll cover it more on the show later this week. But I think this is a major trend. We're going to see a lot of projects leaning into this AI agent sort of, let's just call it a trend. Let's call it a hype. To your point, not all will survive and stand the test of time. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still investing in startups. Most startups will fail at one point or another. Doesn't mean you can't get incredible gains during, that moment in time when the hype is there. So, get positioned accordingly. I think this trend is going nowhere. I think it's just going to accelerate. So you want to get out in front of it. You want to be among the first projects to launch within this sector, not, in 4 or 5 months when everything's fully saturated and there's thousands of projects like this. So yeah, bullish on Smart Sentinels, bullish on Noya. We got other good agent projects coming down the pipeline. I think this is a major narrative here.
And then lastly, let's talk about Michael Saylor before we get into any markets, because that might deter us away from the conversation for a bit. So let's talk about Michael Saylor. We talked about his stretch product. We talked about strategy. Everybody knows that exists. 3.5 trillion banking giant Goldman Sachs disclosed they bought 300 million worth of MSTR. Major banks are buying Bitcoin. Here is a major bank that instead of buying Bitcoin itself or even adding to one of their spot Bitcoin products and getting more AUM there or having the AUM themselves, they are opting to buy a stock of a publicly traded company that is focusing on Bitcoin products, and that is MSTR. Does Goldman Sachs realize that Bitcoin isn't going anywhere but wants to diversify some risk away with MicroStrategy because it isn't just a Bitcoin holder, but it also is looking at Bitcoin products and is a software company at its core?
Yeah, man, I'm not surprised this is happening. Maybe Goldman Sachs has the same insider info that Hexbull has. Clarity Act will pass this month. Hexbull out here claiming he knows. He's got insider information. We'll see. We'll see. By the way, I do think it gets passed. Let's see if it gets passed this month. Trump is apparently saying he doesn't want to pass anything until the SAVE Act gets passed, but I think he'd make an exception for the Clarity Act. So let's see what happens with the Clarity Act. But look, Goldman Sachs knows Bitcoin's undervalued, strategy's undervalued. They're in the business of buying low, selling high. And we just had a 6-month bear market, guys. And I think we're grinding up our way out of that. Goldman Sachs, if you're going to follow someone, I guess you could follow worse institutions when it comes to trading and making money. Because they're pretty damn good at that.
Yeah, since last year we've been talking about wanting the Clarity Act to be signed into action by the end of Q1 2026. The end of Q1 would be when? The end of this month. So, this is the plan projection that we had all the way since last year, and we'll see if it happens. We're running out of time here. What do we got? Like 20 days, 21 days to make that a reality. Let's see if that can get locked in and keep the macro bullish stuff flowing for Bitcoin and crypto to try to get an uptrend back in action.
I haven't followed much Clarity Act news recently. I guess everyone's been distracted by the Iran war. But last I heard, the banks and the crypto industry were still basically locked, and fighting against each other with respect to the yield and whether stable coins can offer yield. So I don't know. That feels pretty deadlocked. Someone's got to budge. Someone's got to capitulate at least to some degree. I don't care if it's crypto. I don't care if it's the banks. Just get it done, man. Like, if you're Coinbase, how much of your business is reliant on people getting 4 or 5% on their stable coins?
I think a lot.
Really?
I think
I'm not here for 4 or 5%.
The thing is, it's not even how many people do it now. I think there's already a lot of people, but then it's what does that lead to the future? Imagine the onboarding effect. A lot of people put money in the savings account because they're idiots and don't realize that 0.25% gets you nothing. The smarter ones put money in the savings account and then get into a CD that produces 4%, but you're still trusting a bank. So if you can get similar performance with lower lockup periods with a stable coin on Coinbase, which isn't, a traditional bank, then maybe that's the option there, and that's how you get people out of the regular system into the crypto system. And now Coinbase is making money off of that versus the bank that's locking it up on 90-day periods or 1-year periods with a CD. So I think they're looking more about getting that traditional money to them versus keeping it there.
Not 5% right now. Depending on the interest rates. So the interest rates go down, you get less in the money market, which is a liquid thing. You don't need to lock it.
Right, but in order to get into a money market, you need a financial advisor. In order to get into a bank savings account or a CD, that's every Joe Schmo that goes into their local credit union gets pushed into that by the banker. It's like more about accessibility. Like, do you get in the money market? I've never been in the fucking money market. But I have had CDs. I do have money in a savings account because that's what us low IQ, the first financial instrument you learn about is, hey, go to your local credit union, get a checking account, a savings account, get a CD, and get a checkbook. That's the only thing you're taught as far as financial literacy in America, and that's the accessibility that I think Coinbase with stablecoins could get you because it's just as easy. Money market's a whole different thing. You got to have a Charles Schwab account, figure out a financial advisor to get money from your bank to Charles Schwab, and then they're going to be the ones playing on the money markets versus you investing in that yourself.
I don't know. I had a money market. I had a bunch of money in the money market when interest rates were super high. But again, that's, I guess, okay, so I'm a privileged person, has a financial advisor who hit me up and was like, look, rates are, because the interest rates went to like 7 or 8% or something, so that, you could get a lot of money in the money market. So I get all that, fine. But it's not all that money market's not all that different than what the Coinbase offers, because now you have, okay, so for the money market, you got to move money out of your bank into this like Charles Schwab account and then do a money market, open up a money market. Okay, fine. With Coinbase, you got to take money out of your bank and move it to Coinbase and put it in stable coins and hold it there. So it's not all that different. I don't know. I just like.
But how much money is in the money market?
I would hate to see this Clarity Act get like just not happen because they can't come to terms on this. In my view, it's not the biggest thing of the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act, to me, the biggest thing is regulating the manipulation that you see in the markets, stamping that out. That to me is like the biggest thing that.
Well, that's the most important, and that's what sends the market higher. But they're fighting over it because the money markets is $8 trillion. That's why the money market currently is $8 trillion. You know what I mean?
Just get it solved, get it done. Come to some compromise here. I guess the banks are now saying like, you're not subject to all the rules and regulations that we are, and so it's not fair, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully Hexpool's right. We'll show this on the stream again. He's got insider info. Clarity Act will pass this month. Jamie Dimon and Brian Armstrong, maybe they're gonna do some like MMA fight and just duke it out. And whoever wins, you know what I mean? Like do a Zuckerberg thing and like just fight about it, and then whoever wins, that's who wins.
That's been the thing lately. Testosterone levels back. Manly man is back. Everybody wants to box each other to settle these debates, as long as they're getting paid $1 million. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So let's do like whatever it takes, guys. If I have to see Brian Armstrong beat the shit out of Jamie Dimon, like let's do it. I don't care how this happens. Get the damn Clarity Act passed. The industry needs it. The regular retail degens, we need it. The exchanges need it. I think maybe even the banks. They don't know it yet, but they also need it.
Bitcoin flirting here at $69,912, but we're talking about prediction markets. We always pull up Poly Market. We've been approached by a project called Any Markets, brand new to the crypto industry, to blockchain tech, and it's going to function similarly to Poly Market, except there is some finite differences that we'll get into here. But I want to show this, as their Twitter is brand new, so maybe you want to be one of the first followers to Any Markets. We're going to be using this on the show in the future. You know how we pull up Poly Market and we say, hey, we would take this bet or we would take that bet. We're going to start utilizing Any Markets to take some of these bets and create some of these bets, because the cool thing about Any Markets is anybody on there allows everyone to create their own prediction market and earn 1% of the volume or predict on existing markets. Create markets for BNB, Ethereum, Solana-based tokens, and more. All markets created follow a hybrid pre-mutual principle, meaning everyone is able to make a prediction. So you can create the prediction, you can bet on the prediction, and it's all running on-chain and supports many crypto assets, many of your favorite assets, BNB, ETH, Sol, and Base, which are all networks and assets that we talked exclusively about almost this bull market. Why? Because not many other altcoins did anything but outside of these ones and Bitcoin.
I'm glad there's a new competitor to Poly Market, which is still relatively centralized and kind of gatekept. This is far more accessible. Anyone can create their own market. For as little as $1, you can create your market, right? And then obviously you're going to want to put some capital behind that, some liquidity behind that by betting one way or another. And then as other people enter that bet, you are earning 50% of the fees that any market makes, all the trading that goes on in that particular market that you created. You earn 50% of that. So very, very generous for the end user, for those who are creating the market. Much more accessible, democratic, decentralized. I like that. And it has an expansive list of kind of markets that you can play around in, right? It's not just bet up, down on the price of a particular asset. That is a part of it. But they're adding sports. I don't know if they're doing politics yet. Maybe that's going to come later. But they have a lot of different things on the platform you can already get involved with. We're going to start putting our money where our mouth is. So maybe it's a good time to talk about that. We obviously on the show make a lot of predictions. I think, let's use today for example. I think Bitcoin is going to be higher in the next 2 weeks. Where it is, I don't know. I have to think about that a little bit more. But instead of us just sitting here and, yammering on and flapping our big mouths, how about put our money where our mouth is? And then you guys, the viewers of the show, community members, you can bet along with us. You want to bet against us? Oh, F these bulls. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. 4-year cycle's still a thing. Bet against us. Great. Or maybe you're like, hey, I'm bullish too. I'm going to bet with these guys. You can do that as well. So we are going to be supporting any markets. We're going to be putting bets up. We're going to be putting our money where our mouth is starting this week. We're going to start putting live bets on the show. And let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. We're not betting crazy amounts, $100 here or there. But I think it's going to be fun. And look, if we make money off of this, great. We'll use that money to buy back Surf Token. Win-win.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, too. I think any markets is interesting. Getting involved in these when you've seen a competitor be so explosive. Remember, there was Hyperliquid. People are like, holy cow, look at that valuation. And then CZ created Aster. And it exploded in valuation. Yes, it's on a major pullback, but if you look at the market capitalization of Aster, it's still hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's still a success in its own right in the face of a bear market, because why? It's tapping into a sector that is doing very well. So I'm not going to say any markets can replace or surpass poly markets, but there's definitely a big enough pie that if you get a small sliver of it and you're one of the first 100 followers of this project, that you do have upside with the token, you have upside with platform ownership, platform fees, and of course the prediction market itself. So definitely keep an eye out on any markets. Tune into the Pools channel, tune into Crypto Paradise channel. My personal Learn Crypto channel will probably be talking about it. And let's see if any markets has success as a platform, a token, and of course, on the betting side, if and when you get paid out when you are correct.
Yeah, a couple of things on any markets. One, I can't say with 100% certainty that they will do a token, but I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. We know the team. We've met with them a number of different times. They're good guys. I think long term they will end up doing a token. So, given that information, or that, let's say, call it speculation on mine, it's pure speculation that they'll do a token. I think they will. Isn't it wise to kind of get in early and start making bets early? I mean, thinking about potential airdrop for early adopters, things of that nature. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, what do you think? What do you think our first bet should be? Should be a Bitcoin-related bet, maybe an Ethereum-related bet. By the way, you can bet on Pulse Chain now. You can bet on like any number of small assets too, if I'm not mistaken. You just create whatever market you want. What do you think we should do? I'm thinking like a basic Bitcoin bet. Like Bitcoin's not going to fall below 60,000 in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we need to figure that out and get that created. I think that could be a nice one. If we truly believe that the major low is in and our only fear is another black swan event, then, predicting that Bitcoin low is in and you get that for 2 weeks or 1 month span, I could side with that for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Because I'm not. You guys, you may not know this. I'm not really a gambler at heart. I don't like actually risking my money for things. So I want to take a bet that I feel very confident in. We're only gonna put like $100 behind each bet, guys. Like, at least for now. Maybe in the Raging Bull Run we'll put $5,000. We'll see. But for now, it's gonna be like $100 we'll put behind. We'll see if anyone joins up. But something that's like basic, easily defensible, something I truly believe in. And I do believe, by the way, that 60,000 was the low. And certainly I don't think we're going to hit 60,000 in 2 weeks. But there's plenty of bears out there who I bet disagree with me and think the shit's going to 40. So I want to hear from the bears. Would you bet against us if we created that market? I guess we'll find out.
All right, those are kind of the news pieces. That's the any markets. We want to make sure to touch base on that and give you the fair warning that we're going to start playing around with any markets, get some bets going. Talking about those decentralized betting platforms, prediction platforms, the federal rate chance according to Polymarket, less than 1% chance for a 25 basis point cut, less than 1% chance for 50 basis point cut, and a 99% chance of no change in 7 days and 9 hours from right now. In about a week from now, the Fed will have its fingertips on the markets once again. Will they cut rates? Will they hold pat? Will they be dovish? Will they be hawkish? I don't know. The data, in my opinion, says they should be cutting rates, that this betting line is absurd, but I guess people understand how political Powell is and that he is going to go down swinging, as it looks like he will be out the door in May.
Yeah, I'm already looking past Powell, man. I've lost hope in the March decision. Do we have an April decision? We maybe have an April
28th.
Yeah, then we skip May, and then the next is June.
Yep.
So by the time the June decision comes, Kevin Warsh will be in charge. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is that crucible moment if Warsh F's us over and turns out to be, very hawkish, like some people feared, then yeah, we got problems. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Kevin Warsh comes in riding his, he's like a white knight riding on his horse to save the markets, save the economy from the tyranny of high rates. Between him and Scott Bessent at the Treasury are going to engineer an incredible revival of growth, low rates, ISM, ticking up. Who remembers the glorious days of quantitative easing from 2020 when they started? How great was that, man? Everyone was buying stuff. Everyone was feeling great. Markets were going nuts. I know inflation hit later, so that was not fun. But for like a year, I mean, everyone was buying new cars, houses, Pelotons, at least among my friends, right? Of course, markets were going insane. Everyone was making money doing crypto, doing stocks, doing, memes on fucking Robinhood. I mean, that was an insane time. Can we get back to that?
That would be nice. A lot of people thought that was going to be Q4 of 2025. Obviously, we were leaning towards the extended cycle, so we didn't assume a blow off top by the end of 2025. But the traditional 4-year cyclist, whether you're a bull or a bear, that's when it would have happened. We didn't really see it. Bitcoin 126K. Ethereum didn't even get to new all-time highs. No other alts went to new all-time highs except for BNB, I believe. Maybe Solana. So wild times. And, we haven't had that alt season. That's why we're still holding on to hope. ISM was consolidating that entire period, finally breaking up a little bit into the 50s here. And we're going to see if these macros, these bullish macros that we've been talking about, finally come into play here, with the Clarity Act being the first one that hopefully Hexbull is correct gets done by the end of this month.
And to be fair, I don't think we're going to see an exact replay of what happened in 2020. That was a, once in 100-year confluence of events, including, and of course precipitated by, the pandemic. So everyone was like just YOLOing it, not knowing what the F was going to happen tomorrow. And then the Fed comes in, cuts rates to 0. Treasury comes in, printing a ton, or Fed comes in printing trillions. And of course, that's what caused everything to go bananas. So I don't think we get an exact replay of that, but can we even get that a quarter of? Let's just get a quarter of that mania. So not even a mania, just a good economy where rates aren't super high and people aren't like, oh my god, I can't buy a house, I can't get a new car, it's too expensive. Can we get back to at least just that?
That would be nice. Lower interest rates solve a lot of those problems. Obviously, the spending power of the dollar is still down and to the right, but when you get into lower interest rate area, it becomes easier for the low IQ, the traditional blue-collar Bob, because he can get the funding at lower rates for the car, for the house, for the things you need to live. And then also for the more financial savvy, they take advantage of the near free money to pump money into various investments, markets, and they start taking risk, which pumps risk on assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So whether you're super financially savvy, like Sean over here living in New York, or like Billy Bob that owns his own auto parts store, lower interest rates helps everybody from the lowest to the highest, in my opinion. And yes, the rich get richer in those environments, but the poor get allowed to participate more in the economy or finance their local business, their small business, with lower interest rates. It's good for everybody, and I want to see it happen. I think it's way past overdue. And let's see if we can start this going here in the next 7 days. The market say it ain't happening. Crypto Amaru say it ain't happening. The data says it should happen. What do you got going on, Powell? What's your next move?
I mean, looking at the job market, he absolutely should cut. We lost a bunch of jobs recently. We continue to shed jobs across a bunch of different sectors. AI is genuinely replacing jobs. Maybe not the same level as some of the worst case scenarios yet. We'll see. But it's definitely playing a role. So I think the job market's weak. But yeah, if you think about low rates, a low rate environment, I guess there's some people out there, yeah, rich get richer. Oh, it's going to cause inflation. We got to somehow find that sweet spot where rates are low enough where you can go out and get a reasonably, priced mortgage. Maybe not at 2%. but not 6%.
4% would be nice, you know.
4%,
Make it make
3%,
sense.
4%. Great.
Get HELOCs,
Okay.
get HELOC loans on your current property at 4 or 5%. That'd be nice.
Dude,
you
it
know?
unlocks so much when that happens. The housing market has been frozen for so long. It has a huge impact across the whole economy. And then you talk about businesses being able to take out loan to buy a new, widget or machine, tractor, or whatever. Then now that company that manufactures that product, now they got to hire some more people to build more stuff. I mean, it really becomes a positive sort of force for good for the whole economy. And yet the Fed is still looking in the rear view and worried about inflation, which we beat, and tariffs that never happen, tariff inflation that never happened. And now their next excuse is probably going to be, well, the war in Iran, it's too much uncertainty there. We don't know what's going to happen to gas prices, so we got to keep the rates high.
We have 7 days and 8 hours. It'd be nice if this war ended in the next 7 days. To get 8 hours to spare before the Fed meeting for the cut.
Yeah, you hear that, Trump? Another reason to end the war. But even so, even if he ends it with 4 or 5 days before the meeting, they're going to come and say, well, we don't really know if this war is over. There's just too much uncertainty, and we think rates are at neutral. Well, the overnight lending rate is 3.5%. That's actually pretty good. But the long term,
nobody can get that.
It's the yield that it's the 10-year debt or the 10-year bond market, whatever is. That's what's driving the interest rate, and that's at 6% or so 4.5%, but still for whatever the banks are lending you money for your house at 6%. What the hell? So we got to drive that down, the long-term debt rates. We got to bond market rate. We got to drive that down. And I think that happens with QE in a combination of lower, interest rates from the Fed. But man, I just miss those glory days. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about the other day, when everyone was just going nuts, just buying stuff. I bought a Peloton for no reason. I don't fucking Peloton.
You were in that Peloton hype. You were part of the reason why that stock went straight up and straight down like a shitcoin. Talking about straight up and straight down, Bitcoin back above 70,000, 70,600, almost a new high for the day, as the NASDAQ has flipped green back above 25,000. You're not out of the deep end yet, but this is good to see. Let's see if we can get another green candle, attack this upper limit at 73,500. And it does seem when the NASDAQ is showing some strength, Bitcoin is hopping on the bandwagon and starting to outperform. NASDAQ trying to reclaim the moving averages once again. Will we have that bullish breakout, high-level consolidation by the end of March? Does the Clarity Act affect the NASDAQ performance at all either? I don't know, but we are trending in that direction. MicroStrategy back to $138. Remember, we called this downfall of MicroStrategy up here with the inverse Adam and Eve that played out with the measured move to 131. We got down to 131, wick to 108 for 1 day and back into that 131 range, currently at $138. So if you owned MicroStrategy, congratulations to selling higher and buying back lower, having patience. Remember, this was a multi-month playout from September all the way until February before the target of $133 on MicroStrategy hit. So shout out to you if you got involved. Does that mean it can't go lower? No, it doesn't. But you had patience for multiple months and avoided buying in the 300s to buy at our target here on Crypto Paradise at $133 to $135 per share.
Everyone who was betting for the demise of strategy and Michael Saylor's a scammer and he's failed 10 times in the past and he's going to fail again. F those people. Just F them, dude. Honestly. Here's a contrarian take about Saylor, because it is a fact that he's had failed businesses in the past. It is a fact that at one point the strategy stock dropped 95%. This was 10 years ago, some before they discovered Bitcoin. It is a fact that he didn't pay taxes for some amount of years to the state of Maryland. But who gives a fuck? Honestly. The contrarian take is as follows. Michael Saylor is a true entrepreneur, guys. He is going to take risks. He is going to open up new lines of business. He's going to get into new areas like Bitcoin, whatever. Some of the stuff he does is not going to succeed. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if anyone's watching the show, you're an entrepreneur, you know that 9 out of the 10 things that you do as an entrepreneur, those things are going to fail. That's just how it is. It's hard to be an entrepreneur. It's hard to create a business that people want and will spend money on consistently over time. Okay, we know that. Isn't it more likely that instead of him being some like giant scammer or fraud or something, that he just finally found product market fit? After all these years, now he's like 60-some years old, he finally found product market fit with strategy and now with stretch. That to me is a much more believable narrative and a hopeful narrative versus what I'm seeing now. People claim he's a scammer, a fraud, he's failed 10 times in the past, this is going to fail too. How about he's an entrepreneur, tried 9 things, and on the 10th time it hit? Just a thought.
He had other things too within that software company. He had big booms as well. That's the thing. Everyone wants to talk about, oh, it failed. Well, it failed at some point. You know, it had big booms. He's been a billionaire before. He's had companies that have done very well before. MicroStrategy as a software company has, in the tech bubble, did very well. So, you know, he didn't quite survive the tech bubble as far as being a top dog right now, but he still survived that. MicroStrategy is still a publicly traded company and still existed with his innovation of diving headfirst into the Bitcoin technology and looking to now create Bitcoin products. So he was able to survive. A lot of people wouldn't survive, whether it's them actually taking their own life, them, you know, leaving and going to another hourly job or being an advisor somewhere. You know, their companies still remain publicly trading, whether it was down 95% or not. It still was there, and now it's found major revitalization. The other thing, too, is everybody rooting for the demise. Strategy, and I think 2025 was the best performing stock asset in existence. So how long does the bandwagon go? I think it really goes as long as Bitcoin goes. And right now, when in doubt, zoom out. Who cares that the asset price is 139 off the 400 high? Look where it was just a year and a half ago. It was in the single digits.
Yeah, when it went on that big run too, they didn't have stretch, STRC, which is their new instrument, which essentially pays you an 11.5% annual dividend monthly. The dividend, for some reason, is not even a taxable event, which is a mind-boggling thing as well. And then as stretch is trading, that volatility is generating capital for them, which they then use to buy more Bitcoin. It's a remarkable product. 6 months old. I don't, know all the ins and outs of it. I'm not an expert. Do your own research if you want to get involved with it. But this is relatively, he didn't have this when strategy went on that big run. So does this help? Does this help Bitcoin? I think absolutely. And if you are in this space, see, that's what pisses me off the most. If you're in this space, how are you rooting against this guy? Like, he's single-handedly putting the full fucking Bitcoin. He's putting it on his back, man. We should be cheering and applauding this man, not trying to tear him down. So, yeah, Martin Max King, you're absolutely right. All millionaires fail multiple times before they finally made it. Read about Jeff Bezos. I mean, dude had, tons of different products and stuff happening in Amazon. Many of them failed. And then finally hit big on, Amazon Web Services. By the way, the core business of, selling tchotchkes, that doesn't barely make the money. So, yes, I mean, there's just a lot of haters out there. When you're an entrepreneur, that's what happens, man. 9 things fail and the 10th one hits. And I think we have to finally accept that Michael Saylor and strategy has hit on this Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, even Elon with Tesla and stuff, they had a lot of failed betas, and they were literally on, their last round of paychecks. And if it didn't come in, or there wasn't a grant, or there wasn't that little last bit of funding, Tesla wouldn't exist, Boring Company wouldn't exist, SpaceX wouldn't exist. It all came down to that last month of money they had to make something happen, and they were able to make it happen, and look where he is today as well.
And there's still people poo-pooing Elon. Oh, you're not that smart. You're dumb. All this stuff, man. People are really just low IQ stuff happening on the internet.
$71,000 Bitcoin, new high for the day. $71,023. NASDAQ, what's it doing? NASDAQ up 0.53%. New high for the day to 25,100. Green candles, gotta love it. It is interesting. I'm getting excited for $1,000 Bitcoin green candles, but you got to start somewhere. And we're sitting at these lows. We know we need to break above these moving averages, and we are getting closer by the dollar and by the day. Come on.
The longer we can consolidate here, be above 70,000, I mean, just the longer that happens, doubt, I think, is going to start creeping into the minds of all the bears and the 4-year cycle. It's like, maybe the 4-year cycle actually is dead. And maybe we are about to go into a super cycle. And maybe we are about to grind up back to all-time highs and then up to $150,000 and $200,000 Bitcoin. So maybe I should start to deploy some capital here. Maybe even just 20% of my stables. I'll just deploy that. But so the longer we consolidate and we're not crashing down, I think more likelihood that the bears and those on the sidelines start to deploy a bit of capital. So I'm all for it. I don't mind the consolidation whatsoever. Why are we green right now? Well, my guess, did Trump tweet something? Or did the market come to the realization that the Strait of Hormuz is actually not closed? It's not closed. It was closed for like 24 hours. And then you know what happened? The tankers got smart. They turned off their transponders when they were crossing through the strait, so they were less detectable by any potential like Iranian forces. Not only that, Trump is ensuring, the United States is ensuring, literally providing insurance for the straits passing there, and we're providing defense. Physical, like military installations and carriers and destroyers and so on, literal defenses. Not to mention that we bombed and destroyed most of their missile capabilities. I think Hormuz is opening back up, guys. I think oil is going to crater back down to, hell, it might even go below where it was.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the other thing with what we were doing in Venezuela that we've talked about. This gives us access to all their oil, although it's not as good a quality. It can still be refined. The same thing applies to other locations around the globe, and of course, drill baby drill here in the United States. We are now the biggest producer of natural gas and oil in the world, larger than the next two countries combined. In both of the, I think in one of the scenarios it's Russia plus China, and in another scenario it's Iran plus China. Larger than both of them combined on both of those fronts.
Yeah, and there are some tankers going through. Shout out to Frank joining up the stream. Hope you're well there, bud. Yeah, there are some tankers going through. I think as more go through, more will gain the courage to also go through. Let's see what happens, man. I mean, this Iran thing, it was a big gamble, and maybe still we'll look back and go, damn, that was a mistake. Because if in 6 months from now, all that Iran and the regime ended up doing was just burying their nuclear, their uranium underground even deeper, became even more untouchable, and they enriched it. By the way, they were 60% enrichment. They only need a little bit more enrichment to get 11 nukes. I don't know why more people aren't talking about that. So,
It doesn't fit the narrative.
Do we live in a world where they eventually get these 11 nukes in relatively short order? And it's like, damn, that the gambit didn't pay off? Maybe. But I don't know. I think there's a very good chance that this turns out to be a gambit that actually ends up paying off in the end. I don't know if we'll ever get regime change. That seems unlikely. We'll see what happens. Maybe the Kurds come in and sort of force things on the ground. I don't know. I'm not some military guy. But I just think to the naysayers out there, you have to admit that this could turn out well. I see Frank is bearish. Isn't there a world where this turns out well? And you have to say, oh, wow, Trump was right. And by the way, there's a world in which this turns out poorly, in which say, yeah, damn, I was wrong. Trump fucked up.
I think it's going to be very hard to get the perspective that it's right unless there's regime change, which is going to be very hard because the people that were standing up against the regime, remember, like 32,000 instantly executed before the war started. That's kind of why the war started. I think it's very hard. I mean, I'd be afraid to do that. Even if I wanted regime change, I'd be afraid to go out and protest if I just watched 32,000 people be beheaded and slaughtered on national TV. That'd be pretty crazy. But I don't think a regime change happens, and that's why I think on paper, at least, or in the public eye, it'll be like, oh, this was a waste of money, nothing changed, no regime change. But on paper, I think there was a lot of change, whether you slowed down or eliminated the nuclear buildup. You took out a ton of their military. It's going to take them years to rebuild that. You took out 49 of their top 100 officials in day one. You took out their supreme leader. You took out the Hezbollah supreme leader. And you took out countless other major officials in Iran. And I know like the son of the supreme leader was now elected supreme leader again. Will they effectively want to kill him before they back out of this? Probably. So people will be like, well, you're just replacing one supreme leader with another. Not much changed. But you did take out 50-something of the top 100 officials there, 80% of the military capabilities, slowed down nuclear progress, and took out the leader of Hezbollah, another terrorist organization in the area as well. So at least, I don't know with these terrorist organizations if you can ever really stop them, stop their beliefs, because there's plenty of radicals within that society that never will and will always hate and want to kill infidels and hate Western society. But at least you maybe slow down some progress with that. And I just think that is on paper a good thing. But in the public perception, I don't think if you ever get that point across unless there is a regime change, which is easier said than done.
Well, it's always a tough argument to make when the counterfactual, we'll never know the results of the counterfactual. We'll never know the results if we did nothing. We just let things persist as they were. There's a good chance that Marco Rubio and Trump and everyone was right, that if we just let things persist, they would have built up the missile capabilities to the point where we couldn't touch them, at least not with a lot more bloodshed, a lot more treasure, et cetera, spilled. And then behind that shield of missiles, they were going to build up their nukes, get to the point where they have 11 nukes, and then who knows what the hell is going to happen after that. That was the argument that Trump, et cetera, were making, and why we had to go in. And if that's all true, and it's like, damn, then this was probably worth it, even if it delays them only a few years. Because if it was as imminent as they were suggesting it was, like a nuclear armed Iran is not good for the whole world. You got to think about the markets. You guys worry about the markets now? How about when Iran shoots a nuke at Tel Aviv? There'll be nuclear Armageddon after that, guys. But the problem with that is, so they would never do that. The regime would never shoot a
They
nuke.
literally blow themselves up because they think they're going to get 9 virgins after they blow themselves up. Those people are not with it. Number one, it's a belief system that's ingrained in them as a children, so it's not really their fault. They manipulate the children, they get older, and then they do those crazy things. Number two, literally within the Quran, I can argue this, I can argue that, the Bible this, the Bible that. They're literally kill all infidels, okay? That's just what it is. And number three, they've shown over history that they do it. Now, why do they do that? Part of it is the belief system, part of it is religion, whatever. But there's also an IQ question you got to ask. Well, Nick, are you being racist saying Muslims have low IQs? No, well, inbred causes low IQ, which causes what? Irrational anger and irrational actions. That's literally what the definition is. Look it up on Google. And who has the highest inbred rates in the entire world besides Somalia? Well, it is the Muslims. So, is there a biological thing going on? Is it ingrained in them as children? Is it a religious thing? I don't know. But the fact that I have 3 things off the top of my head in 5 minutes without even being an expert leads you to believe that there is some part of that society that is not compatible with Western civilization, and they would press the nuke button. They literally blow themselves up because they think they're going to get laid after death. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, okay, so for let's just call it the counterpoint. Well, Nick, that may all be true, or some of that may be true, some of it not, but the chances of them doing it are low. But are we willing to live with even, so what, the optimist case is, assuming Iran, the regime gets a nuke, there's only a 1% chance that they cause nuclear Armageddon? Are you willing to risk that? Are you happy having your money in the markets, by the way? Everyone who's caring about the markets in their own bags, which is what we care about. Are you happy knowing that at any moment in time, and I know other countries have nukes, but so far Russia's chosen restraint. Obviously, we know the Western countries have chosen restraint. North Korea's chosen restraint. But look, we can't even do anything about North Korea if we wanted to, because they have the nukes. So it's like, if you let a country that's kind of crazy and led by dictators get nukes, man, you're playing with fire. Do we really want it to happen? And so again, you had to ask yourself, if you were the president of the United States, would you have done nothing and just gambled with, well, if they get the nukes, hopefully, they turn rational and reasonable and they don't use them on everybody? Or would you have done something about it? I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. But I think everyone out there who's like, this was horrible, I can't believe he did this. Again, ask yourself, what would you have done with the knowledge that Trump had, which, by the way, they went into those negotiations, the Iranian regime went in and said, we are at 60% enrichment, and we are in short order able to make 11 nukes. You just do nothing with that information? Oh, okay, let it be. Just let it be. Or maybe take the Obama route and donate a couple billion to them and hope that pacifies them somehow. So again, it's just everyone out there, it was horrible, What would you have done differently?
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out here shortly. I mean, it's hard. We don't have the intel. Obviously, I don't like any war. I don't want war. I don't want my money spent on war. But that is definitely one of the worst regimes probably in the world as far as wanting them to have nukes and how that affects global. Imagine Iran, how much power they have over oil if they have nukes now too. China, although we don't like them and they're our adversary, China kind of keeps the whip on them as far as the Strait of Hormuz when we're not in war times. If they have nukes too, they can kind of tell China to fuck off as well. Buy our shit, or at this price, otherwise we can nuke you. I don't know. They're just crazy, irrational. It's not really who you want to have nukes. I don't have an answer for you. I hope that the war ends here swiftly. They said it was a 4-week plan to begin with. How many weeks are we into this now? And we have 7 days and 7 hours until the next Fed rate decision. And ending before that would be nice too, because at least I'll get rid of one of the hawkish talking points for Powell. But what are you going to do? Everybody be safe. Be safe globally. I know there's been an uptick in kind of irrational Islamic attacks here in the United States. A couple happened in Texas. I know some happened in Europe. Is that, because of the war that radicalized these people? Maybe, maybe not, but it is ironic timing. So be safe. Hopefully everybody who isn't part of the extremist groups are safe in Iran. I know that there is collateral damage for a school in Iran that was close by one of the military holdouts in Iran. They do that shit on purpose. Hamas does that shit. So that's unfortunate. I don't want to see anybody ever hurt, killed, whatever. But you got to take what is best for the many, not the few in this situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, this was a very tough decision. This was a tough call. This wasn't a clear choice because there's risks and challenges and issues with both decisions. Do nothing, okay, that has its own set of risks. Do something, that has its set of risks, which we've seen now with the uptick in attacks and terrorism, etc. And who knows what the next 6 months or a couple of years will bring now after this war. So, look, this isn't an easy situation, but for everyone who's blaming the West, blaming the U.S., by the way, we in the negotiations said we will give you, if you guys want nuclear power to power your society, we'll give you that. We'll actually literally donate to you. We'll give to you like billions of dollars worth of like materials so you can build nuclear facilities. Nope, rejected that deal. So, I mean, again, if you were president, what would you have done differently? Just let it be? They clearly want to get the nukes, guys. And are you okay with them having the nukes? And if so, why are you okay with that? Like, every single leader of the free world, I mean, even the Europeans, who, I don't know what's going on with their leadership, even them consistently over the past 50 years have said, no, Iran, that's a red line. Iran cannot get nukes. Even the Europeans have said that. The Canadians, the Australians, every basically, democracy in the world has aligned on this notion that they can't get nukes. And then, of course, when we go in and prevent them from getting the nukes, now everyone's protesting and saying, what have you done? I can't believe you bombed them. You're an asshole. It's like, good. So, yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, again, to everyone who's like super bearish about this and, oh, it's never going to end. It's going to endless war. Trump could end it tomorrow. He almost did. He almost ended it yesterday. Why do you think the markets turned green? He was like, I think the war is almost done. And the market started running. Oil crashed. We could stop shooting off tomorrow. We could stop bombing their shit tomorrow and declare victory. And I don't think the Iranians keep going. I think that they don't lay down their arms, but they say, oh, thank God our regime survived, but we're not going to continue to shoot at Qatar and all our neighbors. We're not going to attack ships going the Strait of Hormuz. It's over. And Iran and the regime can declare victory because they survived. Enough of their people survived. We'll declare victory because 95% of their military infrastructure has been destroyed. And who knows? Do we have to do this again in 5 years if they built it up all over again? Maybe. But I think for anyone who's like, this is going to be a forever war. No, it's not. It's not going to be a forever war, guys. Trump's going to end this thing in a week, and Iran will lay down their arms, and we'll go back to business as usual. So, yeah, I'm positive. I'm feeling good, not about all of it, but about the outcome, being more good than not good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, enough about the war. Bitcoin 71,250, Ethereum back above 2,100, and BNB back to $650.
Wake me up when BNB's at 1,400.
Let's see if we have a follow through. What do you say?
Wake me up when Bitcoin and Ethereum's at 1,400.
1,400?
Wasn't it its all-time high, 1,400?
You mean 5,000? Oh, BNB. I thought you said Ethereum.
BNB.
I'm like, what?
No, wake me up when it's at 1,400, and we have BNB meme season again.
Yeah, BNB got hit a high of $1,385 or something like that twice, and then it got rejected up there, and it's been down ever since. But I will say, when in doubt, zoom out. Just back in June of 2025, it was $600, and right now it's $650. Less than a year later, so
Dude,
not
I'm
massive
gonna
change, but
tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of people who, in, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, they're going to be rich as fuck because they bought choice altcoins, blue chip altcoins at the lows. The same thing that happens every bull run. You know, these things are super oversold. Everyone thinks they're going to zero. Of course they don't. Market eventually turns bullish, and like you're gonna have, Cardano, Chainlink, all these BNB, all these like Solana, they're all gonna do like 5x or more. Not to mention the low cap altcoins. So yeah, shout out to all those who are still locked in, buying assets, DCing. You deserve to be a Valhalla soon, guys. So We'll end it with this. Elon announced the launch of X Money in 1 month, so crypto will pump soon. Let's hope so. I don't. Yeah, is crypto a part of it? Are you able to do payments? Blockchain-based payments. It's not going to be an exchange, I don't think. Maybe one day they'll add that functionality, because I know it wants to be a super app. But is it going to start with some blockchain-based payments? That would be pretty sweet.
I think so. I think it's going to be like a fully integrated traditional finance and crypto finance all in one app with the debit card that you can order day one. And I would assume there might even be trading in there. I don't know what it's going to launch with features. I need to do some more research on this. Again, this was something he hinted at a couple years ago, and this did catch the tide, and this is why Doge caught that little bit of a run, because everybody assumed that Doge would be within the X Money app. And now it looks like it's actually going to be brought to the masses here, as we are seeing screenshots, beta testers, orders for metal debit cards, and the list goes on. So I need to look at all the functions and what's it really going to launch with to see how much it is going to impact the crypto markets itself.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe one of those things that does not cause an immediate pump, but we'll look back in 5 years and go, oh, wow, look, like X Money onboarded 50 million new people into crypto that otherwise wouldn't have been there. That obviously would be extremely bullish. So let's see what happens. I mean, for anyone who's like, oh, crypto's dead or whatever, guys, no, it's the opposite. We're just early as hell. We're just early as hell. So, be patient. Let the adoption continue to play out. I think we're going to look back as this was a pretty big moment. Just like Clarity Act is going to be a big moment. Just like Stretch is a big moment. It's all big moments, guys. We're going to be good.
It says early access will let users test peer-to-peer transfers, merchant payments, high-yield accounts, and crypto integration, with the full rollout expected later this year. So the first iteration in 1 month does have some kind of crypto integration and merchant payments. Maybe you can spend some of the crypto, but we'll see what that crypto integration means. And then a full rollout expected later this year, having X Money be the everything app.
Does this mean that Elon's going to be back bull posting about Bitcoin?
Doge,
yeah. Is he going to be back, like, pushing crypto because he wants to get more users into his app and he wants to get crypto price up and retail excited again? Maybe. Tesla's still got like a couple billion in Bitcoin.
Yep.
So yeah, man, I'm feeling bullish about that. Thank you for pointing that out, Martin. It's a great way to end the show here. But for everyone who's feeling bearish, it's gonna be fine, guys. It's gonna be okay. I think Trump ends the war. What do you say? A week? Maybe we should make a bet on any markets on that too.
That's a tough one.
I don't like doing those. I really have no idea. But we will put a bet up there tomorrow. Bitcoin is not going to go below $60,000 in some time frame that I'm comfortable with.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, ladies and gents, good stuff today. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then.